Welcome back, folks. My name is LastKnownMeal, and today we're gonna be talking about CDPR, the next Witcher game, and the development of that project itself. Because people have been asking me a lot, what do I think about the next Witcher game, especially because people are worried that you had a lot of OG developers from The Witcher 3 days or The Witcher 2 days leave the company after The Witcher 3 came out, and obviously you had a lot of people actually leave after Cyberpunk 2077 was done. So we're gonna talk about that, but before we get into that, keep in mind that it does seem that Marcin Momot somehow confirmed so far that the amulet is going to be a Lynx amulet. So what we're getting in the next Witcher game is going to be a new school. It's basically like a combination of the School of the Wolf and the School of the Cat, so these two schools combined into School of the Lynx. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with it, because obviously that's not going to be book canon, but technically every single game which came out is not book canon, because books end before The Witcher 1 begins, because The Witcher 1 game continues straight after the books, or well, everything which does happen in the books. Therefore, everything else which has been made by CDPR so far is pretty much their own imagination. Keep in mind, obviously, they did take a lot of stories from the original books, and obviously they are canon in the CDPR version of the game, or the CDPR version of the universe. Same for the School of the Lynx, because especially I think that's going to be a continuation. Honestly, I wish we took the game and placed it in like the golden age of the Witchers when Vesemir was young, but it does seem, judging as from everything I've seen here and the cover, it does seem that this is going to be a sequel, or well, it's not going to be called Witcher 4, but it might be set after the events of Geralt of Rivia and everything else which has happened in The Witcher 3. At least that's my speculation so far, but of course we shall see as we get closer to the release date, which is not happening anytime soon, which is also something I want to talk about, because people asked about switching to Unreal Engine 5. Why is that? Well, first off, as we have seen, Red Engine was causing issues. Red Engine was causing issues in The Witcher 3, but keep in mind, when The Witcher 3 came out, it didn't have so many issues as Cyberpunk 2077 when it comes to the technical level of the game in terms of polishing, frame rate, you know, object streaming in front of you and so on, because even The Witcher 3 on consoles had some issues when it came out, but it was patched really well. But it was specifically shown when Cyberpunk 2077 came out that Red Engine is capable, but it does seem it's very difficult to navigate, and it does seem that this engine is very difficult to properly optimize, especially if you take into account a huge open world where everything has to constantly load all the time. So if your engine is causing issues with that, if not only that, but if it's more difficult to work on Red Engine as it is than Unreal Engine 5 in terms of doing stuff, implementing stuff, and generally developing, I think it's for the better that they switch to Unreal Engine 5. Because at the end of the day, one of the biggest problems CDPR had with Cyberpunk 2077 and why it was so problematic on a technical level is because they were having issues with the engine itself. They upped the engine after they received a lot of money from The Witcher 3. Obviously that caused issues for everything else, including last gen, because the level of detail they wanted was not the level of detail PlayStation 4 and Xbox One could handle properly. Hell, even PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and PC had problems handling all of that when the game came out. But of course, no engine is magical. It doesn't mean that automatically now working in Unreal Engine 5 is going to miraculously make everything good. But if on one side you have epic engineers who are going to be working with you specifically on those technical parts, and if you decided to do it straight from like the beginning of the development of the game, it's a good step forward. So on a technical level, CDPR had a lot of issues. They couldn't get around when it came to that. So now luckily on that side, they're making some good decisions, because leaving Red Engine with the amount of money which has been pumped into that engine is difficult, but at the same time, if this is going to help you further on, you just do it and you don't ever look back. Now there is also a different problem that people are worried about, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, and that's having a lot of talent leave your company. And how is this going to reflect on the development itself? Well, first off, we have to realize one thing. In the past, there has been a lot of instances where you had the top people, or let's say the OG developers, leave the company, and then you had their products basically deteriorate in quality, or they're not the same as they used to be in terms of just what the game is and how the good game is actually. Now, to top The Witcher 3 is going to be incredibly difficult. The Witcher 3 is one heck of a game. We cannot forget that. But it does not mean that ultimately the next Witcher game is going to be bad just because you had people leave the company. For that, we have to wait and see after the game comes out, because keep in mind, even on Cyberpunk 2077, you had, a lot of new people who were developing that. You had a lot of people who were doing that, which were not a part of the original Witcher 3 development team. And the Cyberpunk 2077 on the story perspective, on the character perspective, is not that bad, let's face it. But on the technical side, that was problematic, especially when it comes to some of the features within the game and how the game works in an RPG open world system. That requires a lot of revisions. But again, talent is talent. What's most important in any company or any production whatsoever, and I can tell you this from experience, not when it comes to developing video games, but when it comes to doing events, making theater pieces, or working for film or TV. If you have good management, if you have a good production team, if you have a good director, if you have good people who are managing the entire project and who are taking care of each developer, in this case, not, worker in the case of developing films, but if you take care of your teams, if you present normal workflow without overstressing your developers, you're ultimately going to end up with a good project, especially if the top people actually have proper vision of what they are making. If you have a good vision and an idea and a plan of what you are doing, that's going to be good. But if you're running around trying to figure out which feature am I gonna put in, oh, I saw this feature in another video game, let me put that, let me see if that's going to work, you're just going to get feature creep and you're going to have issues. That's the main problem, because talent is talent. You're always going to get new talent. Never diminish new people entering the company, because those people come with different, fresh ideas, especially because working at CD Projekt Red, like if you look at their job requirements, is a very difficult process if you ask me. You need to have some very good experience, especially if you're going for a higher position in this company. You need to have some good experience already working in a AAA environment in order to work at CD Projekt Red. They're very, very difficult when it comes to employing new people. Because the worst thing they could have done is continue to upgrade Red Engine, experience more issues, and realize at the end that, wait, this is not working out. This is not working out properly. We are overstressing our developers because Red Engine is not working properly. We don't have a good plan. We have in-management fighting or whatever was the case, which probably is, because usually if a company grows too fast, too big, you'll have mid-management fights. That always happens. And then when this line of communication dies out, you're gonna have problems within the production chain. That's the basis of any production whatsoever. So yeah, I wouldn't be worried too much about that. That's my personal opinion. We'll see what happens, but do not expect anything like this anytime soon. It's not coming out anytime soon. This first announcement is mostly to hire new people than it is like a proper announcement. This is pretty much everything for today. Thank you so much for watching. It's a beautiful day today, so I'm gonna continue to make a couple of new videos for tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. We're gonna be talking more about Cyberpunk. We're gonna be talking about more games as well, which I have planned, so it's gonna be exciting times. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to tell me down below what is your opinion about all of this down below. I'm very interested to hear what all of you have to say. And also don't forget to check us out on Twitter and Discord, and huge thanks to my current Patreon supporters for supporting the channel. This is LKM signing out. Stay classy everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. At least we have a new Witcher game announced. Remember when people told me they're not going to do a next Witcher game? It was logical. It was logical. I just didn't expect them to announce it this early, especially when it comes to hiring new people. But yeah, LastKnownMeal signing out. Stay classy everyone. Bye bye.